For over 40 years, Morgan Freeman has entertained audiences on the big screen. He earned his first Oscar nod playing a tough-talking pimp in 1987's Street Smart, and was nominated again 2 years later for his performance as Hoke, the chauffeur and confidant of a Southern Jewish woman over 25 years in 1989's Driving Miss Daisy.
Hoke?
Yes.
You're my best friend.
Oh, go on now, Miss Daisy.
No,
You
really. You are. You are.
Yes.
His performance as Red, a wise and entrepreneurial inmate in the Shawshank Redemption, earned him a third Oscar nomination in 1994. But it wasn't until over a decade later that Freeman took home his first Oscar for playing fighter-turned-trainer Eddie Scrap Iron Dupree in 2005's $1 Million Baby. Freeman's played countless other characters, real and fictional, from South Africa's first black president, Nelson Mandela, in Invictus.
Forgiveness starts here, too. Forgiveness liberates the soul. It removes fear. That is why it is such a powerful weapon.
And he played the President of the United States, preparing for an asteroid's collision with the Earth in Deep Impact, to an even higher power in the 2003's Bruce Almighty.
I'm the one, creator of the heavens and the earth, Alpha and Omega.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Bruce, I'm God.
And now Freeman is turning to science, hosting and producing the 4th season of the Discovery Science Channel's Through the Wormhole. But this is no ordinary science show. Freeman studies controversial topics like, do we have free will? Did God create evolution? And when does life begin?
Hugo's research has led him to believe that a baby cannot be conscious until it is about 25 weeks old. So, is this when life begins?
I think before consciousness has developed, you are not a person, actually. I think this is the time when life begins.
But one child psychologist thinks the beginning of life comes much later. Later than you could ever imagine.
It's an honor to welcome the host and executive producer of Through the Wormhole, Academy Award-winning actor, director, and all-around legend, Morgan Freeman. Thanks so much for coming in and being on the show tonight.
Great to see you again, Al.
Now, Through the Wormhole, you've been producing it and hosting it for 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
What was your interest? What made you interested in science and understanding how things work?
I don't really know. When I was in high school, I had physics, and it was just the most fascinating subject. I was an A student, but I couldn't pass the test and get an A.
Wow.
I got my A's for asking questions. That was the thing.
Is that right? So you've always had this inquiring kind of...
Always had that going on. And so my partner and I, my business partner and I, we formed a company some years ago. It didn't go, but in it we were going to have a channel on outer space. I called it Our Space. And Discovery Channel got word of it and thought, well, that's still a good idea. And, well, they offered us a shot at making the show, so we did.
Now I'm looking at the titles of some of the things coming up, and you know the controversial side of me. I look at you doing one on can you hack minds, which I know is going to, for a lot of us that are into civil liberties and all,
of course,
be very interested. What is that going to be about?
That's there are scientists right now at MIT and at Berkeley who have figuring out how to see brain patterns and tell what you're thinking, know what you're looking at.
Let me show the audience a little clip on.
Go right ahead.
Our brains are biological computers, vulnerable to data theft. Computer hackers can read our email. Brain hackers may someday read our minds. And even rewrite our thoughts. Hacking into our thoughts requires decoding the logic of our neurons. Science is getting close to achieving that goal. One day soon, our innermost thoughts may no longer be our own.
I mean, this is fascinating stuff.
Yeah. These scientists are into so many different areas of our lives. Because I think one of the things, we're always going to be exploring one thing or another. We always are. And I think we have to prepare for tomorrow on some level other than the one we're on. People are talking about, well, will we be able to survive the end of the earth? Will we be able to survive that? Well, if we don't start thinking about it, the answer is no.
Yeah.
So how can we start manipulating our environment, ourselves? And that's what they're getting into. Now, of course, you're right. All this has to be watched very carefully.
Oh, yeah. What do you most want people to know about the series?
I think people just want to know, we asking questions, and we're coming up with all kinds of different theories, not necessarily answers. You can't answer all of these questions.
Right.
But there are things that worth thinking about,
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. This is Politics Nation. You've been a big supporter of the president. You gave $1 million to one of the PACs last year. What do you most hope to see him do before he leaves? He and his wife have talked about science, have talked about learning. What would you most like to see him do as one that has been supportive of him?
I think what he most wants to do is get our country back on track. That's probably rebuilding our infrastructure and getting our educational system squared away. I think if he manages that, he'll be happy enough.
And that would be your advice to him to focus on that?
Well, I don't presume to give him advice, but that would be, I know that's what he wants to do. Those are two of the things that he's desperate to accomplish.
Do you've been vocal about people blocking the president and obstructing the country, and I'm sure you took heat for that. But I sense that you're not political as much as you're just concerned about people.
Exactly. I'm not very political at all, but I am very concerned, and I think that President Obama he was a good choice. Otherwise, we wouldn't have reelected him.
Right.
And obviously, he's succeeding against some serious odds. So he's a good man.
This is the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington year. You've seen a lot in the entertainment world and the country in general. Mm-hmm. Are you hopeful in terms of people coming together, racial differences, and other things?
This is America. Always hopeful. Always, you got to be hopeful here. This is the place where you can be hopeful. I don't care how low we get, how dirty the politics get. We always are going to be looking around and up, I think. Got people like you and me here.
Yes, and we've got to keep it going. And we've got to ask the right questions as you're doing in this series, even if we don't have the answers.
There you go.
Sometimes the answer is to ask the right question.
There you go. Right. Absolutely.
I think it's a very important thing, and we're honored to have you. You've been, to me, a tremendous, tremendous person in our lives.
Well, thank you so much. That's very kind.
Thank you. Morgan Freeman. Through the Wormhole premieres tomorrow night on Discovery Science. Coming up, I'm opening up my mailbag and answering your emails. Friend or foe? I want to know. Next.